Listen to me carefully. Before you scroll, before your mind wanders, before you decide this is just another voice among many, pause. Something unseen has already reached into this exact moment and drawn you here. You did not arrive by accident. Out of countless messages, countless sounds, countless distractions pulling at your soul, this one found you, and it found you now. This is not for the crowd. This is not for the curious. This message was meant only for you at this precise hour, in this exact season of your life. There are moments when the noise of the world grows so loud that the quiet voice of truth feels distant. But hear this with clarity and conviction. God has not lost sight of you. While you were wrestling with doubts, while you were questioning your direction, while you were wondering if your prayers had vanished into silence, God was watching every step, weighing every tear, and measuring every unseen battle you fought when no one else knew. This message arrives not to entertain you, but to confront you, awaken you, and remind you of who you are under the gaze of God. You may feel ordinary, overlooked, worn down by routine and responsibility, but God never deals in the ordinary. God specializes in purpose hidden beneath pressure. What you call delay, God calls preparation. What you call rejection, God calls redirection. And what you call weakness, God calls the raw material of transformation. The reason this message presses against your heart is because something within you already knows. It is time to rise beyond survival and step into alignment with God's intention. Do not underestimate the weight of this moment. Lives are changed not always by thunder and fire, but by a single realization that pierces the soul. God is speaking to me now. You have asked questions in the quiet of your thoughts that you never spoke aloud. You have carried burdens behind polite smiles. You have wondered if your effort matters, if your faith is strong enough, if your future holds more than repetition and fatigue. Hear this without hesitation. God does not create emptiness without intending to fill it, and God does not stir hunger without preparing nourishment. There is a divine urgency attached to your life. Time is moving, seasons are shifting, and God is calling you to wake up from spiritual hesitation. You were not formed to drift. You were not designed to blend in. You were shaped with intention, placed with precision, and sustained by the will of God. Even your struggles have been serving a higher purpose, refining your inner strength, stretching your vision, and stripping away illusions that could not follow you into the next stage. You may feel small in a world that celebrates noise and visibility, but God works most powerfully in hearts that listen. When the world tells you to hurry, God teaches you to trust. When fear tells you to retreat, God commands you to stand. And when your own mind tries to convince you that you are behind, God reminds you that timing is not measured by comparison, but by obedience. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are being positioned. There are doors you knocked on that never opened, and you thought it was failure. But God saw what was behind those doors and protected you. There were relationships that ended, paths that collapsed, plans that dissolved, and you blamed yourself. But God was removing what could not sustain the weight of who you are becoming. You cannot step into a greater calling while clinging to smaller definitions of yourself. God is not punishing you by closing doors. God is preserving you by redirecting your steps. Faith is not passive. Faith is not a soft wish whispered into the air. Faith is a decision to trust God when evidence is incomplete and emotions are unstable. Faith stands up when logic sits down. Faith speaks when fear demands silence. And right now, God is calling you into a deeper, stronger, more disciplined faith. One that does not depend on feelings, applause, or instant results. You have been waiting for clarity, but God has been waiting for commitment. You have been asking for signs, while God has been asking for surrender. The moment you stop negotiating with doubt and start aligning with trust, everything shifts. Not all at once, not without effort, but with unmistakable direction. God does not reveal the entire road. God reveals the next step. And the next step requires courage. Look at your life honestly, not with shame, not with self-condemnation, but with responsibility. There are patterns that must end. There are habits that drain your strength. There are thoughts that sabotage your peace. God is not accusing you. God is inviting you to choose discipline over distraction, truth over comfort, purpose over convenience. Transformation does not begin with emotion. It begins with decision. You cannot keep feeding your fears and expect your faith to grow. You cannot keep revisiting past wounds and expect your future to flourish. God's mercy renews you, but your obedience activates direction. Every day you wake up, you are given a choice to drift through the hours or to walk with intention under God's guidance. Great change is not the result of dramatic moments, but of consistent alignment with what God is urging you to do right now. There is strength in you that you have not yet touched, because struggle taught you endurance, but faith will teach you authority. You have endured enough. You have survived enough. Now God is calling you to build, to lead, to stand with conviction. The season of merely holding on is ending. A season of intentional living is beginning, but it demands that you stop doubting your worth and start honoring the responsibility God placed within you. Do not measure yourself by the speed of others. God writes different stories with different rhythms. What matters is not how fast you move, but whether you move in the right direction. Comparison is a thief that steals gratitude and blinds you to your own progress. God is not asking you to outrun anyone, only to walk faithfully in the path set before you. There will be days when you feel nothing. Days when prayer feels heavy and hope feels distant. Those days do not define your faith. Faith is proven not when everything feels powerful, but when you choose trust in silence. God is closest not only in triumph, but in perseverance. When you show up despite weariness, when you stand despite uncertainty, you are demonstrating a faith that shapes destiny. This message is meant only for you because God knows where you are standing internally. God knows the private crossroads in your heart. Cannot remain undecided forever. Neutral ground is an illusion. Every day, you either move closer to purpose or drift deeper into distraction. God is calling you out of spiritual delay, not with anger, not with condemnation, but with firm, unwavering direction. You have been given insight for a reason. You sense when something is misaligned. You feel unrest when you compromise. That is not weakness, it is guidance. Do not silence that inner conviction. God uses it to steer you away from what drains you and toward what strengthens you. Peace does not come from avoiding responsibility. Peace comes from aligning with truth. Your life carries influence, whether you recognize it or not. Someone is watching how you endure. Someone is learning from how you respond. Someone will draw courage from your obedience. God often works through quiet consistency, not loud declarations. When you choose integrity in small moments, you create ripples that extend far beyond what you can see. There is no wasted obedience. There is no unseen faith. God records what the world ignores. Every disciplined choice, every resisted temptation, every moment you choose patience over reaction is shaping your future. You are becoming someone capable of carrying greater responsibility, deeper wisdom, and stronger purpose. You may feel like you are starting over, but God never starts from nothing. Experience refines you. Pain teaches you discernment. Failure humbles you, and humility makes room for growth. Do not despise where you are. This ground is preparing you for what is next. Do not ask if you are strong enough. Ask if you are willing enough. Strength grows through obedience. Clarity grows through action. Confidence grows through alignment. God does not empower excuses. God empowers commitment. Step forward, even if your voice shakes, even if your understanding is incomplete. This message confronts you because you are capable of more than you have accepted. You were not meant to live reactive, fearful, or spiritually numb. God calls you to live awake, anchored, and purposeful. Every day is an invitation to realign, to rise, to renew your focus. Let go of the lie that it is too late. Let go of the lie that you missed your chance. As long as you are breathing, God is still working. Redemption is not about erasing the past, it is about reclaiming direction. Today is not ordinary. It is an intersection where decision meets opportunity. Stand firm. Speak truth to your own doubts. Discipline your thoughts. Guard your time. Honor your calling. God is not distant. God is present, watching how you respond to this moment. And if you feel the weight of this message pressing on your heart, that is not coincidence. That is recognition. Something within you knows this is real. Something within you knows this is your moment to rise, to trust, to act, to realign, to walk forward with conviction. Knowing that God who called you is faithful, that God who sustained you will strengthen you, and that God who brought you here did not do so without purpose. Do not shrink back from what you feel stirring inside you right now. That stirring is not imagination, and it is not emotion alone. It is awareness. It is the quiet but undeniable realization that you were not meant to live half awake, reacting to circumstances and surrendering your days to pressure and fear. God did not shape you to be managed by anxiety or controlled by uncertainty. God formed you with intention, and intention demands response. What you do after this moment matters more than what brought you here. There are times when God allows your strength to be tested, not to expose you, but to reveal you to yourself. You have questioned your endurance, yet you are still standing. You have doubted your clarity, yet you are still seeking. You have felt exhausted, yet something in you refuses to quit. That refusal is not stubbornness, it is purpose refusing to die. God placed resilience in you long before you ever needed it, knowing the weight you would carry and the battles you would face. You must understand this clearly. Your inner life shapes your outer world. If your thoughts are constantly filled with fear, your steps will always hesitate. If your mind is disciplined by truth, your actions will follow with strength. God does not ask you to deny reality, but God asks you to refuse despair. You may acknowledge difficulty without surrendering to it. You may face uncertainty without becoming paralyzed by it. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is obedience in the presence of fear. There is a difference between waiting on God and hiding behind patience. Waiting is active trust. Hiding is delayed obedience. God honors patience, but God also honors movement. You cannot remain in a posture of hesitation forever and call it faith. Faith listens, then acts. Faith receives direction, then steps forward, even when the path is narrow, even when the outcome is unclear. Obedience opens what hesitation never will. You have spent too long negotiating with limitations that were never meant to define you. You told yourself you would move forward when conditions improved, when confidence increased, when certainty arrived. But certainty does not precede obedience. It follows it. God often reveals strength after you commit, not before. If you wait until you feel ready, you may wait indefinitely. Readiness is built through action, not contemplation. God is not impressed by words spoken without alignment. God responds to hearts that are sincere, disciplined, and willing to be shaped. This is why your private decisions matter more than public declarations. Who you are when no one is watching determines the authority you carry when people are listening. Integrity is not loud, but it is powerful. It builds a foundation that cannot be shaken when pressure comes. There is a calling on your life that cannot be fulfilled through distraction. You cannot live divided, one part seeking purpose, the other indulging what weakens you. God calls you to clarity, to simplicity, to focus. Every distraction you tolerate drains energy meant for growth. Every excuse you entertain delays transformation. This is not condemnation, this is invitation. God is calling you to live with intention, not impulse. You are not required to understand everything. You are required to trust enough to move. God never promised ease, but God promised presence. You will not walk alone into what lies ahead. Strength will meet you when you arrive. Wisdom will increase as you obey. Support will appear as you commit. But none of it comes while you remain motionless. Your past does not disqualify you. It instructs you. The lessons you learn through mistakes are tools, not scars meant to shame you. God does not experience. Every moment you thought set you back was shaping discernment, sharpening judgment, and deepening humility. You are not behind. You are equipped in ways you did not recognize until now. There will be resistance when you decide to live aligned. Resistance is not a sign you are wrong. Often it is confirmation that you are moving in the right direction. Growth disrupts comfort. Truth confronts habits. Discipline challenges routine. Do not retreat because the process feels demanding. The pressure you feel is shaping strength, not breaking you. God is calling you to stop seeing yourself as fragile. You have endured more than you admit. You have adapted more than you realize. You have survived seasons that once felt impossible. That strength was not accidental. It was cultivated. Now God calls you to use it deliberately, not just defensively. You are capable of leading your own life with clarity and conviction. Stop waiting for permission to live responsibly, courageously, faithfully. God already entrusted you with breath, time, and influence. That trust carries expectation, not perfection, but faithfulness, not flawlessness, but commitment. There are decisions you have postponed because they demand courage. Make them. There are boundaries you have avoided setting because they require firmness. Set them. There are truths you have known but delayed acting on because they would require change. Act now. God honors decisive obedience far more than prolonged intention. Do not underestimate how much can change when you align your daily actions with your deepest values. Transformation is not sudden, it is cumulative. Each disciplined choice strengthens the next. Each moment of obedience builds momentum, and momentum changes lives. This message continues to press against you because you are standing at a threshold. What lies behind you has taught you enough. What lies ahead requires more of you. God is calling you forward, not recklessly, not blindly, but faithfully. You do not need to rush. You need to commit. When doubt speaks, answer it with truth. When fear rises, meet it with resolve. When fatigue sets in, rest without surrendering direction. God is not asking you to burn yourself out. God is asking you to live awake. You are not forgotten in the noise of the world. You are seen, you are known, you are called, and the responsibility of being called is to respond. Not someday, not when it feels easier, but now, with clarity, humility, and strength rooted in trust in God. Let this truth settle deeply within you. God is not distant from the details of your life. Every moment you thought was insignificant, every choice you believed no one noticed, every quiet act of endurance carried weight. Nothing offered in sincerity is overlooked. God sees patterns long before outcomes appear, and God responds to alignment before results are visible. When you begin to live as though your inner life matters, your outer life will begin to shift in ways that cannot be explained by coincidence. You have been shaped by seasons you did not choose. Pressure carved depth into your character. Silence taught you discernment. Delay forced you to listen more carefully. These were not punishments, they were refinements. God often prepares people privately before positioning them publicly, because strength that has not been tested cannot sustain responsibility. You were strengthened in ways comfort could never accomplish. Not misunderstand patience as inactivity. There is a quiet labor happening within you right now. Your values are being clarified. Your priorities are being rearranged. Your tolerance for what drains you is decreasing. That discomfort you feel is not confusion, it is growth. God is narrowing your focus so you can move with precision rather than distraction. You were never meant to carry everything alone. But reliance does not mean passivity. God calls you to partnership, trusting divine direction while taking personal responsibility. This balance is where maturity lives. When you stop expecting rescue from effort and stop relying on effort without trust, your path becomes steadier. You begin to move with intention rather than impulse. There are voices you must learn to quiet. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Not every criticism deserves your energy. Discernment is not avoidance, it is wisdom. God grants clarity when you choose to listen selectively. The loudest voice is not always the truest. Learn to recognize the voice that aligns you with peace, discipline, and courage. Your life is not defined by a single moment, but by repeated alignment. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. You need to live honestly before God. That honesty frees you from pretending, from striving, from comparing. It allows you to focus on what truly matters: growth, integrity, purpose. There will be moments when obedience feels costly. In those moments, remember that compromise costs more. Temporary relief often leads to long-term unrest. God's guidance may challenge your comfort, but it always protects your future. What you give up now makes room for what you are meant to carry later. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to outgrow versions of yourself that once served you. Growth does not mean betrayal of the past. It means honoring the lessons learned while moving forward with wisdom. God does not require you to remain who you were in order to be grateful for how far you have come. Do not fear responsibility. Responsibility is not a burden when it aligns with purpose. It becomes weight only when you resist it. God entrusts responsibility to those who are willing to be shaped by it. Leadership begins within. How you manage your thoughts, your time, your reactions. Mastery of the inner life leads to stability in the outer life. You are not meant to live constantly reacting. You are meant to respond thoughtfully, guided by truth rather than emotion. Emotions are indicators, not directors. When you learn to acknowledge them without surrendering to them, you gain authority over your own direction. God's wisdom teaches steadiness, not suppression. There is courage required to live deliberately, to say no when yes would be easier, to remain silent when reaction would be louder, to persist when quitting would feel relieving. These are the moments that shape character. God builds strength through consistency, not spectacle. Your future is not fragile. It is shaped daily by the choices you make now. Small decisions repeated over time become defining paths. God works through the ordinary rhythms of discipline, honesty, and perseverance. There is power in showing up faithfully, even when the results are not immediate. Do not despise quiet progress. Visibility is not validat. Ion. God measures faithfulness differently than the world measures success. What grows slowly often lasts longest. Roots deepen in silence before branches stretch outward. Trust the process unfolding within you. You are not required to carry yesterday into tomorrow. Learn from it, then release it. Regret that lingers becomes a weight. Wisdom that is applied becomes freedom. God offers renewal not as an escape from responsibility, but as a foundation for moving forward with clarity. There is a strength that comes when you stop resisting who you are becoming. Acceptance of growth brings peace. Resistance creates exhaustion. God is guiding you toward alignment, not confusion. When you cooperate with that guidance, life becomes more grounded, more intentional, more whole. This message continues because the work continues. Awakening is not a moment, it is a process. Each day invites recommitment. Each moment offers choice. God remains constant as you learn to live with greater awareness, deeper trust, and stronger resolve. Do not let familiarity dull the force of what is happening within you. Awakening is often quiet, but it is never weak. It begins when you realize that you can no longer live the same way and still remain at peace with yourself. God plants that unrest intentionally. Comfort can become a cage when it keeps you from growth. Discomfort, when guided by truth, becomes a doorway to clarity. What you feel now is not pressure to perform, it is pressure to align. You are learning that discipline is not restriction but freedom. When you govern your thoughts, your time, and your energy, you begin to experience stability that circumstances cannot steal. God does not call you to chaos masked as passion. God calls you to order, because order creates strength. When your inner life is structured by truth, your outer life gains resilience. There is wisdom in slowing down enough to listen before acting. Impulsive decisions often masquerade as courage, but true courage is measured. It weighs consequence. It honors responsibility. God's guidance does not rush you into confusion. It steadies you into purpose. Learn to distinguish urgency from importance. Not everything that demands attention deserves commitment. You are not required to carry guilt for growth you did not know how to pursue before. Awareness arrives in stages. Responsibility begins when clarity arrives. God is not asking you to relive regret, but to respond to insight. Today's understanding calls for today's obedience, not yesterday's self-judgment. Your words carry power, especially the ones you speak to yourself. If you constantly rehearse defeat, you condition your mind to expect it. If you speak truth with consistency, you train your spirit to stand firm. God created language as a tool of alignment. Use it to reinforce discipline, not doubt. There will be moments when standing firm costs you approval. Not everyone will understand your boundaries, your changes, your restraint. Approval is fleeting. Peace rooted in obedience endures. God never asked you to be understood by everyone. God asked you to be faithful in what you know is right. You may discover that some connections weaken as you grow. This is not loss, it is alignment. Relationships built on who you were may not survive who you are becoming. God is not isolating you. God is refining your environment so it's supple. Artists your purpose rather than drains it. You are learning to value depth over noise, substance over appearance, truth over comfort. These shifts are signs of maturity. God matures people by teaching them to choose what strengthens rather than what satisfies temporarily. There is no shame in acknowledging limits. Limits are not failures, they are guides. When you respect them, you steward your energy wisely. God does not demand exhaustion. God values sustainability. Burnout does not honor purpose. Balance preserves it. Pay attention to what consistently brings you peace without regret. That peace is often confirmation. God's guidance does not leave residue of confusion. It may challenge you, but it does not hollow you. What aligns with truth strengthens you over time. You are not here to impress. You are here to live responsibly, courageously, faithfully. Life gains meaning when intention guides action. God measures success by alignment, not applause. This moment is asking something of you, not perfection, not certainty, but willingness. Willingness to listen, willingness to adjust, willingness to commit. Every meaningful change begins with willingness. You are capable of far more than you have allowed yourself to believe, not because of pride, but because of trust in the one who formed you. God does not create potential without direction. You are discovering that direction now, layer by layer, decision by decision, step by step, grounded in truth, strengthened by discipline, guided by faith, and sustained by trust in God. Now let this moment become more than emotion. Let it become a turning point. Do not allow these words to pass through you without leaving a mark. You have heard truth not to admire it, but to answer it. God does not awaken hearts for curiosity. God awakens hearts for transformation. What you feel stirring within you is an invitation to step into alignment with the life you were meant to live. Examine yourself with honesty and courage, not to condemn yourself, but to clarify your direction. Ask what you have tolerated that weakens you. Ask where you have delayed obedience. Ask what you must release in order to move forward with strength. God honors sincere reflection because it leads to purposeful change. When you face truth without fear, you open the door to renewal. Renew your purpose by choosing intention over habit. Decide that your days will no longer drift. Decide that your actions will reflect your values. Decide that your inner life will be guarded with discipline and care. God meets decisions made in faith with strength you cannot generate on your own. One aligned decision can redirect an entire future. Walk closer to God, not through grand gestures, but through steady devotion, through consistency when motivation fades, through trust when clarity feels distant, through obedience when the cost feels real. Nearness is not about distance. It is about direction. Every step taken with sincerity draws you closer to truth, to peace, to purpose. Carry this awareness into your life. Let it shape how you speak, how you choose, how you respond. Live awake, live anchored, live with courage rooted in trust. You are not here by accident. You are not moving without guidance. God has seen you, called you, and spoken to you in this moment. Stand up in your spirit. Take responsibility for the life entrusted to you. Choose alignment over comfort. Choose faith over fear. Choose truth over delay. Let your life become a living response to the voice that called you here, and let that response be steady, disciplined, and filled with trust in God.